Hello everyone. My name is Widenius. I am a Chief of Staff at the MariaDB Foundation. And today I would like to share with you some of my experiences from last year, how to organize work process and online events during the time of the pandemic. But first, let's talk a little bit about our organization, the MariaDB Foundation. As you might know, we are a very small not-profit organization with 10 employees, focusing, among other things, on all the matters related to adoption of the MariaDB server and actively working with MariaDB community. In the past, twice a year, we have organized unconferences, small free-spirited events mostly oriented towards the developers of the MariaDB server and consisting of some presentations and also a lot of spontaneous joint coding sessions between the developers. But then 2020 came and everything changed. So 2020 has been a year like no other for all of us. So many changes, so many challenges, so many things to adjust to, both in everyday life and at work. Well, personally, I have worked from home for the past 20 years, and so did most of my colleagues. So at least during the spring 2020, that has seemed pretty easy. Well, I work from home, anyway, how can different it be now? Turned out everything was very, very different for quite many of us. Some of us faced huge challenges at home, in everyday life and with the family. Kids are suddenly all the time around, partners and so on. Social life obviously changed. In fact, I have heard from many of my colleagues and also noticed myself that until these drastic changes of 2020 happened, many of us who work from home didn't even fully realize the huge importance of the social interactions we had with our colleagues during the occasional company meetings and conferences that we attended a few times a year. Yes, we all kind of knew it, but after a couple of months of joking around in a style of, oh, well, these new rules, it's like my everyday life for the past many years, turned out to be one of those things you begin to cherish after you lose it. And obviously all those who used to work in the office had huge adjustments to go through to organize work at home. Yes, again, everybody knew that it takes more than cleaning up a table and plugging in a laptop. But again, turned out to be one of those things one needs to really experience to fully realize what the level of challenge is. And speaking of challenges, it was around March 2020 when we all began to realize that all our flight tickets have to be returned and hotels cancelled and so on, and no trips are happening in anywhere near future. I guess that was the point when an idea of organizing online events appeared simultaneously in quite many minds. So the idea. Well, it all seemed very clear from start. We are working from home as usual. All other people in our community are also home, some as usual, some not so much. So it naturally follows that people should be able to join in the online event from their sofas, learn, interact, and so on. We can save time on travel, we can avoid jet lag, we can save a lot of costs for hotel, flight, food, and generally minimize our carbon print that way. So, all great. What's not to love? Let's do it. So we started thinking deeper and deeper on what is that we actually have a chance to achieve. First realization we had was that new normal provides us with the possibility to expand our audience. As I said previously, we worked mostly with the developers of the MariaDB server, people who actually contribute into the code of MariaDB. But now we realize that we have the possibility to reach out to users of the MariaDB. It was not entirely a new audience for us, but still we quickly realized that it meant several new things to consider. The challenges. Once we realized that we have a chance to reach out to a wider audience, we also decided to bring a touch more formality to the event. We created an actual proper call for papers, selection committee, and so on. That maybe sound normal for the experiences of normal events, but for us with our unconference background, it was something new and we immediately saw advantages there. Working with the presenters in such way from the start helped us to give the whole event the structure it really needed. At some point, early in our organizing process, I had this interesting moment when I was looking at one of the MariaDB mailing lists with 2,000 or so people there, and I was thinking, I believe I know everyone there, like literally everyone. That line of thinking brought the realization that now we have a chance to reach out of our usual bubble and to much wider audience, and having a formal process of work with the presenters was invaluable for that. Having all the abstracts and information about the presentation from the start gave us time and possibility to consider who might be interested in the presentations, whom to contact with the information, how to tag it on social media, and so on. And so, having these thoughts as our starting point, we came to the most critical part of our initial planning, remembering our own experiences as either presenters or attendees of the event, and thinking, what is it we wished organizers would do for us? What is it we want from the perfect event? So, the setup. First, from the presenter's point of view. Well, we all know how it works in real life. You come to the scene, you plug your laptop, turn to the audience, and begin to speak. You may be horribly nervous at the beginning, but then getting more and more into it, keep talking and notice response from the audience. Then there is a fun part with the questions. Then sometime it continues in the corridor. You get new ideas, you get feedback, back new contacts. Everything is great. And now in the corona times, all that is effectively gone. You present in front of the cold eye of the camera. There is no reaction from the audience, no laughter to your jokes, no rotten tomatoes if you make mistakes, no chemistry or energy exchange with the audience. You are really on your own. So basically, why bother? And the only answer is finding a way to improve interactivity despite all these challenges. And I will tell you in a moment how we approached it. Spoiler alert, our method really works. But first, let's look at the other side. What is it attendees want from the online event? The attendees' point of view. So why do people attend a conference, in particular an online one? Obviously to learn something new. So the first important task would be to make sure they can easily identify interesting for them presentations, navigate the event, so to say. And this is all the early work with the presenters come so invaluable, and having good scheduler and all the info available in advance is really important. Well, just like with physical event, really. But then, when the event is online, and you know you can watch it, you know sometimes later why bother to tune in? The answer is surprise, interaction. Attendees want to connect to each other and the presenters just as much as the presenters want to connect with them. And finally, let's look at the setup from organizers' point of view. So we have established that people want to interact. What would be the best way to provide those possibilities? In real life, the presenters will see audience and feel their reaction during the presentation and answer questions after. Now we can clone the presenters. Having the presentation pre-recorded means that the presenter can be in the chat during the presentation, answering questions, discussing. Only that beautiful cold glass of beer you just go and enjoy with other guys after the conference is missing. As far as question and answers are concerned, at least our experience has been that this is part what it makes most sense to make an effort arranging for the live session. During our MariaDB Server Fest in September 2020, we had a combination of pre-planned questions to ask from the presenter and also the most interesting questions from the audience that our host asked. Of course, there is a matter of a good internet connection to consider here. One of the most unforgettable experiences from the first day of our Server Fest was when we were comfortably chatting with the presenter some minutes before going live, and then his internet connection just died out. Luckily, there was a possibility for a backup. Our founder, Widenius, was dragged out of the shower, placed in front of the computer, and asked the most spontaneous interview ever with him. So, lesson learned, always have a plan B, where the live connection is concerned. But when possible, give it a chance, because nothing makes you feel more alive. Having pre-recorded a session gave us, of course, another idea. Why not make this event time zone friendly? So we divided our planet into 3 parts and named them New York for Americas, Paris for Europe and Middle East and Africa, and Singapore, Beijing for Asia, and broadcasted our presentations at the times convenient for each area. We realized that since our presenters come from different time zones, it might not be convenient for them to participate in all 3 streams. But actually, with some planning, we managed to create such a scheduler that almost everyone could take part in at least 2 or 3 sessions. What we didn't quite count on was the strain it was to put on our team. The first event that we created in this format, MariaDB Server Fest, stretched for a whole week, with each stream being 5 hours long, and so there were several days with 2 streams in different time zones. And it was a huge challenge, primarily for our video streaming master Alexander Morozov and our host Kai Arna. But we concluded that it was worth it, largely based on the reaction from the audience. Obviously, the very reason people submit their papers for your event is that they want to be there. They work hard, they create something they can be proud of, and they want to share results of their work with the public. Also, they of course want to hear back from the public, feedback, praise, critique, comments. So, sounds like a win-win, but presenters also hate to present. There is a day job, there is a normal life, and of course there is additional stress of coping with the present COVID situation. So it's not easy to find time to record. And when one starts, it turns out very different from what one is used to in the real-life event. First of all, it turns out that no matter how brilliant you are in your main line of work, and no matter how many selfies or even TikTok videos you took, it's not a guarantee that you know how to set up video equipment in order to record your presentation. Second, it's one thing to come on stage, deliver your presentation looking into the eyes of the interested audience, and then concentrate on discussing with your peers. But it's completely different thing to share into the cold unforgiving lenses and wondering what to do with your hands, eyes, and so on while you speak, trying to look at the slides at the same time and also trying to look natural and into the camera. And then there is a shock of watching what you have recorded, coping with the fact that this is how you look, this is how you sound, this many times you stumble and search for the verse, and so on and so on. It can be quite a shock. I can tell you, it really is. The pressure to re-record again and again and again can be quite overwhelming. And then comes a matter of lacking confidence, time and energy for doing it all over again. This can become quite a tricky circle to break. So, how can the organizer help? Well, as an organizer, you very quickly come to the point when you know everything about setting up the environment for the presentation recording, what is it that your video team need, what's the work process is like, and so on. But your presenters, they don't know any of that. So first of all, it's really important that you sit down with your video team, make sure you clearly understand their working process, what time each step would take, how they prepared, what input do they need, and so on. Document it and then turn into the clear conclusion and concise instructions for the presenters. Many of them don't have time or maybe even desire to understand all the internals of video editing, streaming, etc. So at least I found that it makes most sense to keep instructions short and uniform, but then have an appendix with explanations as to why each instruction is needed. Because while some people don't have time to go into details, there are also a lot of others who actually need to understand why are they asked to do it in a certain way or put certain settings on their computer. Then, once you have shared all the instructions with the presenters, I found that it's really helpful to get in touch with each of them personally. Make sure that instructions are clear and also offer support for the recording process. What we usually do is set up a group chat with the presenter and the video team, and then go through all the steps together. And I found that it's really helpful to first get a very short video done, just to show the presenter how it all going to work. And another really helpful tip is to be very clear on what can be edited and what can be not during the video processing. Subtitles. We all have accents. Yes, even the native speakers. Everyone has an accent from someone else's point of view. And having subtitles makes it so much easier to follow the presentation. But what it takes preparing subtitles for everyone? Obviously it takes a lot of work. Our current conclusion is that ideally presenters should provide a full transcript of their presentation, or even better, a ready-made SRT file, when it's actually pretty easy. But sadly, not everyone has time, and then it's just become a question of if you as organizer have a chance to do it yourself. Our conclusion has been that yes, it's an effort, but it's very much worth it, especially considering that presentations stay on YouTube forever. Getting this work done once means that people can take maximum advantage of the presentations many times over. Then there is a question of to wait or not to wait. During our work on the MariaDB Server Fest, my official title inside of the company changed from cheerleader to cheerleader and cat herder. because trying to keep the deadlines and making sure that all the presenters follow the rules is akin to trying to keep a litter of kittens in a basket. There is always this one last participant who breaks all the deadlines and at the same time has great content, and it's very, very important part of the community work to deal with him and so on. All of this means that you end up being torn between desire to get his presentation, even if he misses all the deadlines, despite all your nagging, or just let it go and wait for this presentation next time. Well, what to do? I don't know. Well, obviously there is no universal solution, but my observation has been that even these last persons, they mean well. They want to be there, but either are honestly too busy or don't realize all the challenges you are facing from the technical side. So the process of preparing your stream, pre and post-production and so on, it may be not known for them. So basically explain as much as possible and be prepared to sacrifice for your video team production at the end of the work and for all the stress. So yes, the key factor in the creation of a good online event and of general work process during pandemic, or actually any time really, is having a great and dedicated team. And I consider myself being exceptionally lucky to have one such with the MariaDB Foundation. Here is a list of all of us. And then, of course, presenters. The first event that we ran in the format in September 2020 featured 35 presentations by 30 presenters. And as I said, we ran each of those presentations 3 times for the different time zones. So it was a lot of work, of course, for our fantastic presenters as well. And it has been so ever since to all other online events we have been running this year. Having a great content and dedicated people talking about their work they love and can be proud of. That's, of course, another key factor of all online events, or real-life events, really. And we were always surrounded just by this kind of people. So, of course, we went on organizing a smaller MariaDB mini-fest just a couple of months after our first big server fest, and we continue doing them now in 2021. Our first online event in September 2020 was a great success. As I said previously, we have only experienced organizing small physical events for 50 or so participants. So watching our event unfolding in front of our eyes on YouTube and seeing that we are getting over 10,000 unique views right away, it felt absolutely amazing. Even more amazing was getting feedback from the audience. It was particularly awesome when something we envisioned as what people might like, as for instance subtitles, and then hearing from people that actually exactly that's what they wanted to see. And of course, in the end, I would like to thank our sponsors for making all this possible. Thank you very much.